Admiral Kwan stared at his communication screen with his yellow reptilian eyes wide open. The human was talking. The single human in his tiny ship was actually talking, and what he was saying made no sense at all. Li Day's voice came through the speakers, clear and calm despite being surrounded by thousands of alien warships. He spoke in broken versions of alien languages that Earth computers had figured out from radio signals intercepted over many years. His pronunciation was terrible, but his message was clear. He wanted to meet the alien leaders and talk about friendship between their species. The reptilian admiral had fought in 17 different wars against 12 different alien species. He knew what new civilizations were supposed to do. When they met superior military forces, they were supposed to surrender immediately or try to fight or run away. Instead, this human was introducing himself like they were meeting at a peaceful conference commander. Yara's circuits sparked with confusion. As she processed the impossible data, her mathematical mind ran probability calculations over and over, but kept getting the same result. There was a 99.7% chance that this was some kind of trap. The real human fleet must be hiding somewhere nearby, waiting to attack when the aliens were distracted by this obvious diversion, but her deep space sensors found nothing except empty space for light. Years in every direction. There were no hidden human ships, no cloaked vessels, no weapons platforms waiting in the shadows. Just one small ship with one human who seemed genuinely happy to meet them. Counselor Han Leaves turned from green to bright yellow, which meant extreme surprise in Moss people body language. His species had studied human behavior for decades through telescope observations. They knew humans fought wars and built weapons and competed for resources just like every other intelligent species. But this human was offering to share Earth music and art instead of making territorial demands. The alien fleets had spent 6 months preparing for battle. Their weapons were fully charged. Their shields were at maximum power. Their tactical computers had calculated attack patterns for every possible human ship design. They had planned for overwhelming human numbers for advanced human technology, for desperate human kamikaze attacks. But none of their planning had included a scenario where the humans would send one unarmed ship with gifts. Li Day waited patiently for an answer while he looked at the amazing alien ships around him. He had never seen such beautiful and strange designs. Some looked like living creatures. Others were pure geometric shapes that hurt his eyes to look at directly. The largest ships were bigger than any building on Earth, and they glowed with energy that made the space around them shimmer. He assumed the aliens were explorers and scientists, like himself, who had come to this star system to study its planets and moons. The idea that they might be military forces never occurred to him. Earth had only built one interstellar ship because it was so expensive and difficult that building an entire fleet was impossible. Li Day thought the aliens probably had the same limitations. While he waited, Li Day prepared his gifts for the aliens. He had recordings of Mozart and Korean folk songs, paintings of Earth landscapes, and samples of chocolate and coffee. The mission planners had chosen items that showed the best of human culture and creativity. Li Day practiced his greeting speeches in different alien languages, hoping to make a good impression. Admiral Kwan finally broke the stunned silence among the alien commanders. His deep reptilian voice rumbled across the communication channels as he demanded answers from his tactical officers. Where were the human weapons? Where was their fleet? How could any species be stupid enough to send one ship into unknown territory? His science officer, a younger reptile named Jung, replied that their sensors found no signs of advanced technology on the human ship. Its engines were primitive but functional. Its life support was basic but effective. Everything about the vessel suggested that humans had barely achieved interstellar travel, yet they had enough confidence to send their representative alone into potentially hostile space. Commander Yara shared her analysis with the other alien commanders. The human ship showed no energy signatures consistent with weapons systems or defensive shields. Its hull was made of simple metal alloys that any alien weapon could destroy easily. There were no signs of stealth technology or hidden capabilities that might explain the humans' apparent fearlessness. The more the aliens studied Li Day's ship, the more confused they became. Every species they had ever encountered had achieved interstellar travel through military necessity. They built starships to escape wars, or to conquer new territory, or to flee from environmental disasters. But the humans seemed to have built their ship purely for exploration and peaceful contact. Counselor Han suggested that perhaps the humans were so advanced that they did not need weapons. Maybe this one human possessed powers that made him equal to an entire fleet. The other aliens considered this possibility with growing worry. What kind of species would send a single individual to face the entire Galactic Council unless that individual was incredibly dangerous? Meanwhile, Li Day continued his patient broadcasting, telling the aliens about Earth culture and expressing excitement about learning from them. His casual confidence, in the face of overwhelming alien firepower, only added to their confusion. He spoke as if he expected friendly conversation rather than military confrontation. The alien commanders found themselves in a situation none of their military training had prepared them for. How do you threaten someone who shows no fear? How do you establish dominance over someone who does not seem to understand they are in danger? How do you respond to friendship when you have prepared for war? Admiral Kwan made a decision that would change everything. Admiral Kwan paced back and forth in his command center, his clawed feet clicking against the metal floor. His reptilian mind was built for war strategy and conquest, but this human situation made no sense at all. He called for an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council aboard his flagship, hoping that together they could figure out what the humans were really planning. The massive conference chamber filled with representatives from 12 different alien species, Admiral Kwan took his place. At the head of the long table, his green scales reflecting the harsh lights. Commander Yara floated nearby, her crystalline body pulsing with confused electrical patterns. Counselor Han roots extended into special ports in the floor that fed his tree-like body with nutrients, while his leaves rustled with nervous energy. For 3 hours, they argued about what to do with the human commander. Yara presented her detailed analysis of Li Day's ship. Her scanners had examined every inch of the vessel, from its primitive engines to its basic life support systems. There were no hidden weapons, no secret compartments, no advanced technology that might explain why humans would send only one ship. The vessel was exactly what it appeared to be: a simple exploration craft with one very confident human aboard. General Tay of the Insect Collective clicked his mandibles together in frustration. His species communicated through chemical signals and complex dance movements, but the human ship detected no such patterns. Li Day was broadcasting on radio frequencies like a primitive civilization, unaware of more sophisticated communication methods. This suggested humans were far behind galactic technological standards, but that made the situation even more confusing. Why would a primitive species send their only interstellar ship into unknown territory without weapons or backup? Every species in galactic history had been cautious during first contact, using overwhelming force to protect themselves from potential threats. The humans were doing the exact opposite. Counselor Han offered a different perspective that made the other aliens even more worried. Maybe humans were so confident in their abilities that they felt one ship was enough. Perhaps this Captain Li Day possessed weapons or powers that the alien scanners could not detect. What if humans had developed technology so advanced that it appeared primitive to less sophisticated sensors? The idea that humans might be hiding incredible power behind a facade of simplicity terrified many council members. They had seen species before that used deception as a military strategy, pretending to be weak while preparing devastating attacks, but no species had ever been foolish enough to send their deception agent alone into the heart of enemy territory. Admiral Kwan shared his own analysis of human military capabilities based on centuries of observation. Through long-range telescopes, Earth had multiple competing nations that fought regular wars with increasingly destructive weapons. Humans clearly understood military strategy and were capable of extreme violence when necessary, yet they had sent their first interstellar ambassador completely unarmed, Captain Minho of the Energy. Beings suggested that this might be a test. The humans could be evaluating alien reactions to peaceful contact before deciding whether to send their real military forces. If the aliens responded with hostility, the humans would know to prepare for war. If the aliens responded peacefully, the humans might be willing to negotiate. Commander Yara ran new probability calculations based on this theory, but the numbers still did not make sense. No rational species would risk their only interstellar ship and their only trained pilot on such a dangerous test mission. The loss of Li Day and his ship would set back human space exploration by decades. There had to be something else going on. The council members found themselves facing an unprecedented decision. Their standard protocol for new species involved a show of overwhelming force to establish dominance, followed by negotiations from a position of strength. But how could they threaten someone who showed no fear? How could they establish military superiority over someone who did not seem to understand they were in a military situation? Meanwhile, Li Day continued his patient broadcasting from his small ship. He had been waiting for 6 hours now, but showed no signs of impatience or fear. His latest message included samples of human music which the aliens found strangely beautiful despite themselves. The melodies were unlike anything in galactic culture, combining mathematical precision with emotional expression in ways that their computer systems could not fully analyze. Admiral Quan realized that every minute they delayed gave the humans more time to spring whatever trap they were planning, but every analysis of the human ship showed it was exactly what it appeared to be: a peaceful exploration vessel with one very brave or very foolish pilot. The reptilian admiral had never faced an enemy he could not understand, and the experience was deeply unsettling. The council members continued their debate as precious time slipped away. None of them wanted to appear weak by being the first to respond peacefully to the human, but none of them wanted to start an interstellar war by attacking an apparently peaceful ambassador. The longer they waited, the more their confusion grew. Finally, Admiral Quan made a decision that went against every military principle he had ever learned. He would respond to the human directly and try to determine what was really happening. The other council members agreed this was their best option for understanding the human strategy before it was too late to stop it. What they did not realize was that Li Day had no strategy at all except friendship. The stars looked different when you knew someone was watching. Captain Li Day pressed his face against the cold window of his small ship and stared at the endless black space ahead. The Wanderer was not much to look at, just a simple metal box with engines and life support, but it was the first human ship that could travel faster than light. Li Day was 38 years old and had spent 15 years flying military jets on Earth before volunteering for this mission. 300 years ago, the aliens had first noticed Earth. They watched the humans build cities, fight wars, and slowly develop technology. The Galactic Council met every few decades to discuss what to do about the humans on that small blue planet. They all knew what would happen next. Every species did the same thing when they learned to travel between stars. First, the humans would send explorer ships to nearby star systems. Then they would build trade routes and colonies. Finally, they would launch massive war, fleets to claim territory and fight other species for resources and power. The aliens had seen this pattern dozens of times with dozens of different species. It never changed. Admiral Quan commanded the largest alien fleet ever assembled. His reptilian face was covered in green scales that reflected the light from his ship computers. Around him stretched thousands of warships, each one the size of a small city. His people had ruled the galaxy for 800 years, and they were not going to let the humans take that away from them. The reptilian ships were built for war with thick armor and weapons that could destroy planets. Commander Yara floated in the control center of her geometric ship. The Silicon Collective had sent 300 vessels that looked like giant crystals floating in space. Her species was made of living metal and circuits instead of flesh and blood. They thought in mathematics and probability calculations. Yara had computed that the humans would arrive with at least 500 warships based on their population and industrial capacity. Even the peaceful Moss people had come to watch. The aliens looked like walking trees with branches for arms and leaves that changed color with their emotions. Their ships were actually alive, grown from special seeds that could survive in the vacuum of space. Counselor Han had not wanted to bring weapons, but the other species insisted that all new civilizations were dangerous. All the alien fleets waited at the edge of human space near a star called Proxima Centauri. They had been waiting for 6 months, expecting humanity to finally make their move into the galaxy. The aliens had prepared for a massive space battle. They knew humans were violent because they had watched human wars through their telescopes. They expected hundreds of human warships to appear at any moment. But Li Day knew nothing about the alien fleets waiting for him. He sat alone in his pilot chair eating a sandwich made of Korean, rice, and vegetables. His mission was simple. Fly to the nearest star system and try to make contact with any aliens he might find. The scientists on Earth had detected radio signals from space for decades, but they could never decode the messages. Everyone hoped there were friendly aliens out there who might want to trade technology and knowledge. Li Day had volunteered because he was curious about what was beyond Earth. He had always wanted to explore new places and meet new people. The idea of talking to aliens from another world excited him more than anything he had ever done. His ship carried gifts from Earth, including music recordings, books of poetry, and samples of different foods from around the world. The Wanderer also carried scientific equipment to study alien technology and culture. Li Day spoke 7 languages and had studied alien communication theories for 2 years. He practiced different greeting phrases every day, hoping to make a good first impression. The mission. Planners had given him flexible orders. Explore, learn, and report back to Earth about anything he discovered. As his ship traveled through the strange tunnels of faster-than-light space, Li Day thought about his family back on Earth. His younger sister, Yeon, had cried when he left, knowing she might never see him again. His parents were proud, but worried about their son traveling alone into the unknown. Li Day had promised to come home with stories about the wonders he would find among the stars. The ship computer announced that they were approaching their destination. Proxima Centauri was the closest star system to Earth and the most likely place to find alien life. Li Day checked his equipment one more time and prepared to drop back into normal space. He took a deep breath and pressed the button that would change everything. Light exploded around the ship as the Wanderer returned to normal space. Li Day blinked and looked at his sensor screens. His mouth fell open in shock. The screens showed thousands of alien ships surrounding him in every direction. Some were as big as mountains, while others moved in perfect geometric patterns. Strange organic shapes that looked like flying forests drifted nearby. Li Day's heart started beating faster, but his military training kept him calm. He had found aliens, but there were so many more than anyone on Earth had imagined. The ships were clearly from different species, with completely different designs and technologies. This was the moment. He had trained for the first contact between humanity and alien civilizations. He activated his communication systems and began broadcasting on all frequencies using the greeting phrases he had practiced. The message was simple and peaceful. Li Day introduced himself as a representative of humanity and requested permission to speak with alien leaders. He offered gifts of human culture and expressed hope for friendship between their species. What Li Day did not know was that every alien commander was staring at their screens in complete confusion. Where was the human fleet? Where were their weapons of war? Why had humanity sent only one small ship with one person? The aliens had prepared for a massive battle, but instead, they found a lone human offering friendship and cultural exchange. The moment that would change the galaxy forever had begun. Admiral Kwan decided to test the human directly. His massive flagship moved through space like a metal mountain approaching Li Day, tiny vessel. The reptilian warship was 50 times larger than the Wanderer, with weapons that glowed like angry stars and shields that made the space around it shimmer with deadly energy. Any normal species would immediately surrender or flee when faced with such overwhelming military power. Instead, Captain Li Day did something that shocked every alien monitoring: the communication channels. He expressed genuine excitement about meeting his first alien beings. Li Day's voice came through the speakers filled with wonder and joy as he thanked Admiral Kwan for what he called a warm welcome, the human completely misunderstood the threatening display of weapons and military might as some kind of greeting ceremony. He asked if he could come aboard the reptilian ship to shake hands, explaining that physical contact was how humans showed respect and friendship. Admiral Kwan stared at his communication screen in complete disbelief. The human was asking permission to board a warship that could destroy his vessel with a single shot. Li Day spoke as if he was visiting a friend, rather than facing a potential enemy. The reptilian admiral had terrorized entire star systems with his fleet, but this lone human seemed genuinely happy to meet him. Before Admiral Kwan could figure out how to respond to such an unexpected request, Li Day was already preparing for transport. He gathered gifts from his ship, including samples of chocolate music recordings from Earth and photographs of human families. The human acted like he was going to a cultural exchange meeting rather than potentially walking into a trap commander. Yara ran rapid calculations trying to understand the human strategy. Was this confidence real, or was it an elaborate deception designed to lower alien defenses? Her mathematical mind processed thousands of possibilities, but kept reaching the same impossible conclusion. The human genuinely seemed to believe he was safe. The transport beam brought Li Day aboard the reptilian flagship, where he found himself surrounded by heavily armed alien soldiers. Each soldier was 8 feet tall with natural armor and claws that could cut through metal. Li Day should have been terrified instead. He looked around with obvious fascination and tried to communicate with the guards using simple gestures and broken alien words. When Admiral Kwan finally met, the human face-to-face in the war room filled with tactical displays and weapons controls. Li Day's first reaction was to offer a gift. He held out a bar of chocolate and explained that it was made from a plant that grew on Earth and that humans considered it a symbol of friendship and celebration. The reptilian admiral took the strange brown substance and examined it with his scanners, finding no trace of poison or dangerous chemicals. It was exactly what the human claimed. It was a simple food item given as a gesture of goodwill. Admiral Kwan had never received a gift from an enemy before and was not sure how to respond. Li Day began asking questions about reptilian culture and technology with the enthusiasm of a student meeting a famous teacher. He wanted to know how the aliens had developed such amazing spacecraft and whether they had art and music like humans did. The human showed no fear of the weapon displays around him. Instead, he seemed fascinated by the engineering. And Design Admiral Kwan found himself answering the human questions despite his better judgment. Li Day's genuine interest and respectful tone gradually broke down the reptilian military protocol. The admiral began explaining how his people had conquered other worlds and built their empire. But Li Day's response surprised him again. The human did not seem impressed by stories of conquest and domination. Instead, Li Day asked about reptilian philosophy and whether they had families and what they did for entertainment when they were not working. The questions were so innocent and friendly that Admiral Kwan began talking about his own childhood and his interest in ancient reptilian poetry. Other alien commanders requested their own meetings with the human. After monitoring these strange conversations, Commander Yara wanted to understand how someone could remain so calm in a dangerous situation. Counselor Han was curious about human culture and social structures. General Tay of the insect collective wanted to study human communication methods. Within hours, Captain Li Day had done something no military force had ever accomplished. He had united competing alien factions in their shared fascination with humanity, the various fleets that had been preparing to fight each other for the right to dominate the humans were now working together to understand them. Li Day moved from ship to ship meeting different alien species and sharing human culture. Each encounter followed the same pattern. The aliens expected military posturing and territorial negotiations, but received genuine friendship and cultural exchange. Instead, the human curiosity and respect for alien differences gradually transformed the atmosphere from military tension to academic discussion. The aliens began to realize that their assumptions about human nature might be completely wrong. As Li Day continued his peaceful exchanges with different alien species, the truth about humanity began to emerge through his casual conversations. The aliens discovered information that changed everything they thought they knew about how intelligent species developed and expanded into space. During a meal aboard Commander Yara Crystalline's ship, Li Day explained how difficult it had been for Earth to build the Wanderer. The project had taken 20 years and required cooperation between dozens of human nations who had to stop fighting each other long enough to work together. Humanity had barely managed to create one interstellar ship, and they had chosen to use it for exploration rather than military expansion. Commander Yara Circuits flickered with shock as she processed this information. Her species had achieved interstellar travel by building massive fleets to escape their dying homeworld. They had assumed all intelligent life followed the same pattern of technological development, driven by military necessity or survival pressure. But humans had reached the stars through scientific curiosity and international cooperation. Counselor Han learned even more surprising details when Li Day visited the Moss people living ships. The human explained that Earth had no unified world government and no central military command. Instead, hundreds of separate nations made their own decisions about space exploration. Most humans did not even know about Li Day mission because their governments wanted to avoid panic if something went wrong. This revelation terrified many alien species who had spent centuries building unified military hierarchies to control their populations. The idea that humans could achieve advanced technology without strict central control seemed impossible. Every successful galactic civilization had started with conquest and domination of their own planet. Before expanding to the stars, General Tai of the Insect Collective discovered something even more shocking during his meeting with Li Day. The human casually mentioned that Earth scientists had detected alien radio signals for decades, but had never considered them threatening. Instead, human researchers had spent years trying to decode the bull messages, hoping to learn about alien culture and technology. They had built the Wanderer specifically to make peaceful contact. The aliens realized they had been broadcasting their locations and military communications to humanity for generations, expecting the humans to respond with invasion fleets. Instead, the humans had used that information to learn alien languages and prepare gifts for first contact. This level of trust and peaceful intention was completely alien to galactic military. Thinking Admiral Kwan learned the most disturbing truth of all when he asked Li Day about human military capabilities. The captain explained that Earth armies were designed to fight other humans, not alien species. Human weapons were primitive by galactic standards, and their military strategy focused on regional conflicts rather than interstellar conquest. Li Day told the reptilian admiral that most humans believed they were alone in the universe, and that finding intelligent alien life was the greatest discovery in human history. The captain seemed genuinely surprised when Admiral Kwan asked about human plans for galactic conquest. Li Day explained that humans were more interested in learning from aliens than fighting them. The Alien commanders shared their discoveries during emergency council meetings, and the picture that emerged was unprecedented in galactic history. Humanity had developed differently from every other known species instead of following the standard pattern of military expansion and territorial control. Where other species had achieved interstellar travel through conquest, humans had done it through cooperation. Where other civilizations had sent invasion fleets, humans had sent a cultural ambassador. Where other races had prepared for war, humans had prepared for friendship. Commander Yara analysis revealed the most shocking truth of all human technology was primitive, but their approach to problem-solving was completely different. They had achieved space travel not through superior weapons or desperate escape, but through scientific collaboration and shared knowledge between competing nations. The Galactic Council realized they had made a fundamental error in their assumptions about intelligent life. They had believed that all species must follow the same path of development through military dominance and territorial expansion. But humanity proved that other paths were possible. Paths that led to cooperation instead of conflict. Captain Lee Day remained unaware of the massive military buildup that had awaited his arrival. He continued to share human culture and learn about alien civilizations, believing he had encountered friendly explorers and scientists. His reports back to Earth described curious and welcoming aliens who were eager to exchange knowledge and establish peaceful relationships. Earth scientists and leaders reading Lee Day messages began preparing for a future of interstellar cooperation. They planned cultural exchange programs, scientific collaboration agreements, and joint exploration missions with their new alien friends. They had no idea how close they had come to facing the entire galactic military establishment in battle. The alien fleets that had gathered to conquer humanity found themselves facing an impossible situation. How could they attack a species that showed no hostile intent? How could they justify invasion against beings who offered only friendship? How could they maintain their military dominance when their entire worldview had been challenged by human peaceful expansion? The revelation was complete. Humanity was not following the rules. The Galactic Council made an unprecedented decision. Instead of following their usual protocol of military subjugation, they invited humanity to join the galactic community as an equal partner. Captain Lee Day's peaceful mission had accomplished what no military force had ever achieved, bringing together former enemies in a new alliance based on cooperation rather than conquest. Admiral Kwan found himself serving as humanity's first alien friend and protector. His fleet, originally positioned to attack Earth, became its guardian against other hostile forces in the galaxy. Commander Yara's Silicon Collective began sharing advanced technology with human scientists fascinated by humanity's creative applications of basic principles. Even the cautious Moss people opened their borders to human cultural exchanges. Lee Day returned to Earth as a hero, though he never fully understood how close humanity had come to galactic war. His simple mission of peaceful exploration had prevented a conflict that would have destroyed both human civilization and the existing galactic order. Earth's leaders, reading his reports about friendly aliens eager for cooperation, began preparing for a future of interstellar partnership rather than military expansion. The human approach to galactic relations revolutionized alien thinking about space exploration and species development. Universities across the galaxy began studying human culture, trying to understand how a species could achieve technological advancement without losing their sense of community and cooperation. Human ambassadors and scientists became highly sought after as mediators in interstellar disputes. Years later, when other young species reached the stars, they found a galaxy transformed by humanity's influence. The standard pattern of military expansion and territorial conquest had been replaced by a new model of peaceful exploration and cultural exchange. Captain Lee Day's single ship had indeed changed everything, proving that sometimes the greatest victories come not from the strength to fight, but from the courage to extend friendship to the unknown. The aliens had waited for a fleet, expecting war. Instead, one human with one ship had brought them something they never knew they wanted: peace, friendship, and a new way to explore the infinite wonders of the universe together.